it must have been exciting what you did. A highly technical task with stuff blowing up and being shot at must have just been intense. Can you tell us about how that felt?
Okay, if we keep things in context, the way I felt at the time, look, I say it in the book many times. I was diagnosed with ADHD, but at the age of 68, a little bit late. But can I say this? I loved every bit of it. I was just so full of, I was 10 foot tall. I was bulletproof. My hair was on fire. And when things happened, they happened like with me, like times three, times four.
Yeah.
Instead of the guy sitting next to me who's going, oh shit, what's going on here? I'm going, look at that. Did you see that? Oh, I'm getting paid to do this. Jesus Christ. But I just loved it. So I was like, I couldn't get enough. And I know and I do not wish to, the thing is, that's me. I do not wish to say that in combat, especially in combat, um, I it sounds contradictory. I didn't enjoy anything uh, per se, but I was always living in the very microsecond at that moment, at that time, responding to whatever my laser-like focus allowed me to think of. And it's in my book. I wrote there's because I use this short story fashion. There's a story on landing and burning rice paddies, and that's probably about the most accurate description you could get from somebody like myself for exactly how the brain works.
Mm.
And it triages, it places things in order, it lists the actions required at that very second. And it's all included in that one story, landing and burning rice paddies. So things went very much for me instead of saying, Christ, let's get home. I don't want to do this again. I'd just say, where's the next one? Where's the next one? Where's the next one?
Yeah.
And I actually, without knowing I was ADHD, I was using it as a tool. And I'd like to encourage anyone that has that diagnosis and tell them it is not the end of the world. As a matter of fact, if you learn about it, you learn to control it, you learn to work with it, it can be a most valuable tool. So, but feeling combat was like, I don't know, like being in a rugby league game and breaking free of a guy that's 1 meter behind you all the way to the goal line. You're just doing everything you can as fast as you can, as accurately as you can, and enjoying the moment. If that describes it, I don't know, you know.
Really quickly, I want to digress and just talk about the ADHD thing. And I
Uh,
want to run something past you. I'm not seeking validation. I just want to know your honest opinion. I
Good.
think it's kind of codswallop, and I don't mean that people don't behave in a certain way because you'd probably guess that I'm like if there's a spectrum, I'm most certainly on it. But I think the codswallop comes from the categorization and the medicalisation of normal parts of the human condition that in the right place and the right time are totally necessary and positive. Like, you were kind of born to fly helicopters in combat. Like you need people like you. And then you can use those skills in other places like Papua New Guinea, to pick an example entirely at random, which is something else we're going to discuss.
Good.
Um, I get concerned about this label that's supposed to be negative because it's been medicalized. Obviously, anything you treat is by definition negative.
Yeah. That's brilliant. And yes, that's true. I actually had a phone call out of the blue from an AMBO here in Cairns, who had just read the book. He said, I've just put your book down. I love it. He said, it's fantastic. But one thing I've never seen in print before is someone talking about ADHD as basically a benefit. He said, I have friends that have received that diagnosis and they just burrow down into a dark hole and think, oh my God, what's wrong with me? Blah, 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 blah. He said, but you have, for the first time in print, he said, I've ever seen, you have actually brought it out I said, yeah, it's a tool. He said, that's right. It is a tool. I said, yes, but all you've got to do is learn what you can about it and then channel your energy and control yourself, if you'd like to put it that way,
Mm.
but channel that energy into something constructive and use it for goal setting and use it for achieving a goal. and we talked for over an hour. I was just blown away. And a friend, I just finished recording my audio book, and the engineer said, "I'm going to send you a book up to a friend of mine who writes for a national news banner and does book reports." And I said, "Well, tell him to look at it from the ADHD point, because people need to hear this. It is
Mm.
not the end of the world at all, not at all." So
Yeah.
yeah, I agree with you 110%.
And look, now that we know, because look, this is a very big digression, incidentally, but post COVID, I come from a family that's got a lot of medical people in it, with doctors and nurses and whatnot in the family.
Yep.
But and I have an inherently high respect and affection for the medical profession. I need to
Mm,
make that qualification
mm,
so people can understand the context of what I'm about to say. Like post COVID, we're starting to understand just how much of an influence the pharmaceutical industry, and that's what it is. So, and I don't mean that in a sinister sense. I mean, it's a good thing that we have a pharmaceutical industry in some ways because it means we're getting all these drugs we can kind of treat people.
yeah.
But the downside of that is that there is a deep desire to categorize and medicalize everything.
Yes.
And I think that that's really, really, really sinister, frankly.